Hey guys, it's Hayden here making another video. Today I have an interview with Iggy, my mentor. I had an interview that I had to do for grad school for Sweat Lodge ceremony, and so I just wanted to share this interview because I felt like it had a lot of great insights and just information about Sweat Lodge and about the work that Iggy does. So let's get into it. So I'm doing a theoretical research project on Sweat Lodge ceremony, I'm not actually doing it, but I'm going through the process as if I were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I've found studies that they've already done that have been peer reviewed, and sort of the conclusions they've come to and stuff like that. And so then I also need to interview somebody who's a professional who knows the demographic that it's serving and what the purpose of it is and how it can be helpful and all that stuff, basically.
Okay.
So
I'll do my very best to answer your questions.
Okay.
To the best of my ability.
Yeah. Well, I believe in you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is what is the demographic that Sweat Lodge ceremony serves, basically?
The demographic, when you mean demographic, you mean the people in the group?
Yeah.
Okay, so considering that the Sweat Lodge ceremony is, no one truly knows who owns the actual ceremony.
Right.
Because the Sweat Lodge or Asana ceremony has been around for a long time. And different, traditions have used it. But in the sense of indigenous cultures, let's say United States, a lot of it are certain groups of people, like the Lakota, the Nemenha, sometimes the Cherokee. They do different styles of sweat lodges.
Right.
So the demographic today, in today's modern world, is pretty much encompassing a lot of different people. So it's not just one particular group. At one time, it was one particular group and their tradition through their tribal affiliations or bands or stuff. But and today, well, you've been in Sweat Lodge ceremony with me, so you can see the demographic is very diverse. And the tradition that I was taught and the one I know and the one that I teach is multi-phase, because there are men's sweats if it's called for that, and there's also female sweats that are specific for females. But there's also the co-ed, the mixed sweats. We call them mixed sweats. We call it a nippy. Not it's sippy. A nippy is the traditional word that you probably know. It's sippy is the word that we use in Nemenha tradition. So sometimes there's a lot of confusion because everybody seems to think that they own the right to the ceremony, or vice versa, the word. And so you run into situations through the demographics of people that they believe that the tradition is theirs only, and then you run into other people who are really open to the process of learning. So it's kind of a weird catch-22 thing.
Yeah.
Because you can run into a situation where people think that you're appropriating somebody's culture.
Yeah.
And I can see where that could happen. If you're doing it specifically exactly how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And but people still do it. People still do Sweat Lodge,
Yeah.
regardless if they have permission or no permission. I know people who just do it because they've watched or learned or whatever. I specifically was trained to do it. So it took me a good 6, 7 years to actually, before they even consider me to be able to I would do my own sweats, but where they actually say, well, he's proficient.
Yeah.
Proficient.
Right. They would send people to you to run the sweat.
Sure, and they would run, they would share, they would watch, they would see if you're doing it right. They didn't necessarily interrupt you, but they would give you suggestions
afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, they probably wouldn't put you in that position if they didn't feel like you could run through the whole thing. So.
Well, it's a calling too, so it's not like it's not like I just say, hey, I want do you want to be a Sweat Lodge? It doesn't work like that.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. It's more like you see it and you're like, hey, I want to learn that.
There's an excitement there.
Sure,
that,
it's a calling.
You're pursuing it, yeah.
Right, when I wanted to learn to do ceremony, I personally wanted to do it, and I wanted to learn, and they were like, great. That solves a problem for them because that means somebody actually followed the smoke and wants to be doing it. They didn't have to coerce me or anybody to do it.
Yeah.
And so it was really on hands training. Real on hands training. I think we got off topic there, but
no, that's cool.
Okay.
No, it's all helpful. And some of this stuff I'll already know.
Overlaps.
Yeah, and like it overlaps, and
know.
it'll be new information.
Okay.
But that's okay. No worries. Also, like, why is Sweat Lodge ceremony important, and why do you think it's something that how could it be helpful for the world and for like the counseling field specifically?
Well, in counseling, that's been used a lot, and you're probably familiar with that for people who are in rehab.
Yep.
For for drugs
Addiction.
or alcohol addictions.
Yeah.
How it ends up working for people, that I don't know.
Yeah.
Specifically, I've had people where I've worked with groups of people who've been through addictions, and they love it. It's a way. It's kind of like even with the ayahuasca ceremony, they do that for addiction too. Yeah. So Sweat Lodge is a more gentler way
Yeah.
to perceive and to enjoy, and so the tradition is actually a purification lodge. We call it a purification lodge or sweat lodge or sauna. And in South America, it's a sauna.
Okay.
We call it sauna.
Yeah.
Or sauna here.
Yeah.
And so the purpose of that, it's a way to commune with the Great Spirit, commune with your ancestors, commune with all the directions of the medicine wheel. It's something that's been passed along. No one truly knows where it started. There are different stories, where like the gifts were given to children or a child, and the child brought it to the village, or vice versa. In Nemaha tradition, it was kind of brought through the cycles of the ancestral line. And so, as I was teaching you, how we do and we honor all the directions, because all the foundation is based on the medicine wheel, on the foundation of the indigenous medicine wheel of that particular group of people.
Right.
So the lodge is created. If you know, the Sweat Lodge is created in a wheel shape, in a basket shape. And the actual formation of a lodge looks like doors. Like if you fine tune and make it exactly, because I've done exactly how it was supposed to look. Sometimes you don't have the material,
right?
So you have to improvise.
Right, but the intention's there.
Yeah, the intentions are there. Yeah,
right.
The first door is your east door. You welcome in, the spirits from the east. That's where the peacemaker comes. So if you're not familiar with the peacemaker, is whoever you're in alignment who brings peace to your joint, to your life. And this particular in Nemaha tradition, the peacemaker refers to Christ consciousness, Christ energy. So that's what the east door, Buddha, whatever.
Yeah, enlightened person, teacher.
Someone enlightened, right. So the east is also the Sifar door, the pillars of the Sifar, meaning those are where the foundations of the future come from. And that's where all the little children are. And once you move around, progress around the wheel, you go to the south, it looks within. We're looking at the aspects, the skin, the bones, the muscles, all the different aspects of ourselves. And they all represented by different animals. Like in the east door, that was represented, and you also adapt. You also create your own ceremony. So traditionally, that would just be an eagle energy, but I also incorporate condor medicine because that's where
that's your ancestry.
Our ancestry, because I also teach my culture within the culture of the context of their culture.
Right.
And then in the south, they talk about the mouse. We are the snake. So that piece, that part right there, is indicative of the south door. And then we go west. We have the buffalo. We have the puma or the jaguar, depending how you align yourself with that. But that is all ancestral in the pillars of the ancestors, where we ask for help, where we ask for guidance, we ask for direction, and that's very valuable and important to us. Then we, of course, move to the north door. Okay, that is the wolf in Nemaha tradition. In South American tradition, it's the hummingbird, kulibidi. Is what we call it, kulibidi. And that's speaking true intentions, your voice, heavenly beings and spirits. So it's about being able to express through sound, through, nonverbal communication and verbal communication to express, because in the universe, when you get to space, you don't hear sound, right? So you're in a vacuum,
right?
And so that's the same with the spirits. When I'm in lodge, I encourage people to make noises and sounds, because sometimes the universe understands English, but sometimes it understands the sounds of vibration and frequency. Because everything's vibration and frequency.
Right.
Everything vibrates. Everything. You, me, everything. Sometimes we hear it, sometimes we don't, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. Everything we see it's a frequency that we're seeing coming into our eyes.
Yeah.
So.
And so the lodge is a basket, which is weaved in the 4 directions, this way, that way. And then they have a crossing point too, so it anchors and holds. And then you can add different parts. And then there's a door here, there's a door here, and there's a door here. If you were to see it, you know, when it's naked, you can see it. And then when the blankets are on, when you walk in, you can see, like, they look like doors. Okay, so, and then we have a ceremony, how we move the blankets around, how we honor the feminine energy, because masculine energy creates it. Because we're actually we're clockwise in the sense, in life, we move clockwise. And sometimes we have to step back and give homage and honor to Earth Mother as she rotates, as we rotate with her. And then we build her up into different layers and different pieces and parts until we cover her. And then we bless her with a sage, we clear, we cleanse, set intentions. And, that's the first beginnings of the ceremony. But before anything that happens, other things happen first.
Yeah, in preparation beforehand. Yeah. Let me check to make sure, because there's some other questions too, but I forget. All right. So, what is the most pressing need of individuals, like, in the community that, like, attends Sweat Lodge? What is the most pressing need for individuals who, like, attend Sweat Lodge ceremony? Which I know is kind of, like, a difficult question, but, like...
No, I mean, first of all, you have to understand that not everybody just goes to Sweat Lodge because they want to.
Right.
A lot of people end up going to Sweat Lodge because somebody has told them about it. And people are, like I've told you in the past, most people, when they come to a person like myself or anybody who does any type of work that's indigenous or metaphysical or holistic, they have exhausted sometimes the capacity of Western medicine to teach them, or help them. So they reach out to others, and others say, hey, you should go check this out. That's how people end up in Peru, and that's how people end up in the Sweat Lodge. So the pressing need is that somebody's looking for something that they are missing in their life. There's a piece that they can't quite grasp onto because it's like they know it's there, but as soon as somebody says the word or whatever, they're like, yeah, I think I want to try that because that's something that resonates with me, or I need to experience that. A lot of it's just out of curiosity. A lot of people are just curious to see what it's like. And then some people they won't even step in the Sweat Lodge because they're afraid. Because you believe in whatever you hear.
Right.
But people who choose to go into Sweat Lodge, or have never attended Sweat Lodge, a lot of the reasons out of their curiosity is to have the experience. And it's a brave step to step into something that you're not aware of, that you have no clue how it works, what will happen, or you're putting your faith into a total stranger, in the sense that they're going to guide you into a place that you need to express your feelings and emotions. Because in the Sweat Lodge, you will release a lot of emotion. You will feel a lot of emotion. You will gain a lot of insight. And you will sweat like a pig.
Yeah.
Okay? And the whole purpose of sweating like a pig is also because it's twofold. It's spiritual and physical. You're supposed to sweat so you can remove toxins from your body, because there are toxins in our body that affect the mental state of our being.
Right.
The inflammation, all kinds of stuff. So Sweat Lodge is a very powerful toxin remover, but Sweat Lodge is also very dangerous. And a lot of people don't talk about the dangers. I do, because I mention it to people, because I also want to be fair and open and let people know every year, according to how I was taught, somebody does die in Sweat Lodge. Not because the Sweat Lodge killed them, it's because it was their day to die.
Right.
They died because it was their moment to die. If they didn't die there, they were going to die somewhere else.
Right.
They just happened to die in a perfect, beautiful setting of a ceremony. But nobody looks at it like that. Everybody thinks, oh, Iggy killed him or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not that someone killed you, it's that nobody knows when they're going to die. But at that moment, you also walk into a most spiritual place to release a part of you that maybe you weren't able to do out here.
Right. And maybe that was all you needed in this life to express and then be gone. Yeah.
We don't know. They're mysteries, but they're not really mysteries. They are and they're not.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like...
There's a process unfolding.
Yeah, and we have this culture that believes that if someone dies in the process of spiritual work or on the table, a Western table of medicine, that someone did something wrong.
No.
And it's not true.
Well, people only go when they're ready, when they've completed their mission.
But most people don't. No one's died in mine. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, knock on wood. Yeah. Keep those.
Because it'd be a weird feeling, regardless. Because as a human person, you always feel for somebody. But it's also my responsibility to ask the right questions, to make sure that the person who's coming into that space understands that I may say, no, you cannot attend because you personally are not fit to be in there. Not that we don't want you, but you can participate in a different way.
Right.
I don't want to put somebody in there who has high blood pressure, who's, on medication for heart. You have to really know. And here's the thing. People will lie to you. Not on purpose, just because they're kind of embarrassed.
Yeah, they're afraid.
And most people don't like to disclose amongst other people their ailments and stuff. I mean, there's really everything's very open book when you're in ceremony. Yeah. And so my job as the healer, practitioner, hollow bone, whatever you want to call me, is to make sure that the people that I'm serving, because I'm serving them, are safe to the capacity where I'm not controlling their journey. They have to also understand it's their journey, but my job is also to make sure that as you're on your journey, you are safe as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good answer. So how are these needs currently being addressed? So if at all, so the needs of like people who are not getting what they need from like Western medicine, how are they being addressed, and are they being addressed at all? Obviously they are with like Sweat Lodge, but...
Well, that question is kind of a strange question.
Yeah.
Because you're asking something that someone doesn't even know if they need it. And that some people don't know it exists. So how do we get it? A lot of it's divine intervention. It's fine. It sounds kind of weird, but sometimes divine intervention takes hold. It comes into play. Like, you don't know what you need, right? Tomorrow you might come and say, hey, do you know who this guy jumps in the bathtubs and freezes his ass off? Remember you told me that? Yeah. And I didn't know who he was. Yeah. I never heard of him. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then I realized, I did hear him, but I just never gave attention. It wasn't what called me.
Yeah. It wasn't your excitement path.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's kind of the same way with, when you're asking a question.
It's a path, and like maybe with time and more exposure, that like that path may become more exciting for more people. Sure. But right now, like that hasn't unfolded yet.
But once you are exposed and shown the path, something does click. Yeah. Something does click in that individual. Yeah. I will say that because I've seen it. I've seen it with
if it resonates.
I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with other people in the group. And it resonates, right? Something just turns on. A light bulb comes on. Yeah. Because there's a part of you at a higher level. We work in different levels too. In the work that we do, there's a lower level, middle level, and higher self. Right. And higher self will always give you the right answers. Yeah. It doesn't tell you what shirt to wear to work, because that's not what it does.
It gives you little like, hey, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Follow this.
Look at this. Check this out. Yeah. You might be interested.
Yeah. This is like, this might be cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're all divine spark of creation. So creation is always trying to find ways to help us. Do we listen? No.
Sometimes.
And
if we choose to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so our free will is inactivated in that moment. Because there's part of me that also believes that free will is also controlled to some extent.
Yeah. Well, the higher spirit is guiding us and provides a container for it.
Right. So the higher spirit will always give you the correct answer if you choose to listen.
Yeah. You'll run into walls if you don't.
Yeah. And if you don't choose to listen, you'll run into walls, and you will keep running into walls.
Until you decide to listen.
And you will fall in the lap of the place you need to be eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
You may be 20, but then you might be 50 later.
Yeah.
It's true. But you never know. You never know how things will activate. We call it following the smoke.
Yeah.
In shamanism, it's being attentive and aware, listening.
Well, yeah, using all your senses to perceive and be present.
And sometimes you could be watching TV,
and you see
it like kind of like it's kind of funny because last night when we had the meeting about Peru, the teacher who is going to do the ceremony is my teacher's teacher. I didn't know. I've never met him, so I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's teaching my teacher's nephew, and so it's kind of I get to meet. It's kind of how the universe...
meet three different generations.
What's funny is that my friend, when I told him to do the research, he says, I met Juan Osco's teacher. So, see, the universe, it's like the universe puts things in your path.
Yep.
And then you have to make the decision if you're going to take them or not.
Yeah, because you don't have to.
So here's an opportunity for me to meet my teacher's teacher, where part of my foundation, not all of it, but part of my foundation comes from, which is kind of fascinating. Mm-hmm. And I find that I'm really excited about that because it's part of your foundation too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. It's going to be like, in that building is the one they had in you see in all the documentaries. Mm-hmm. You watch those videos and you see that building. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we're going to the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
That's pretty cool. So the last question. Yeah, it's still a question that's coming from kind of a Western approach.
So these questions are your questions? Or
no, these are questions from school.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last question is, what could be done better to serve these individuals or community?
Well, what can be done? What can be done? Well, it's not something you advertise. It's not like, you're in the phone book. So in order to serve somebody is to be in service, and be doing the work, so people can find you. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing the work and you're not in service, we can't serve the person who's searching for us.
Right.
And they're searching.
Yeah.
And they're searching. And so once we find them, that's the key. That's the important piece.
Yeah.
The important piece is to make sure that you ask the right questions, that you make sure that they're in the right path. Like the way I teach is also, I don't just take everybody on because I know that's not what the universe wants me to do.
You can't anyway. You have limited resources.
You can't.
So you have to invest in the people that will show up.
Right. So I have to listen to what they're telling me. So in order for me to be in service for them so they can get served in the proper form is to listen to what they're saying, so I can direct them to the right place, or say, hey, I will guide you. I will help you. I will walk with you. There's no guarantee, because there's no guarantee in nothing. Right. It doesn't matter.
And they can walk alongside you for 2 years, and then that's what all they needed. And then they go off on their other path. And
absolutely.
That's fine.
So being just present in yourself, and then once you do take on a student or a client, or however you want to look at it, is that you have to treat them like as if they were you. Like, how would you treat you? Mm-hmm. Some people don't treat themselves well, but but a lot of people, how would you treat a child? Mm-hmm. Not that they're a child, but they're in the foundations of learning.
Learning, exactly.
They're in the foundations.
They're seeking knowledge.
Yes.
Right.
And so now, how do we keep them? How do we move them through? Mm. And for some people, it's difficult because it's odd, it's different, and it's conflicting to the things that they've learned over the process of their life, livelihood. Right. They were raised this way or raised that way, or this religious way or that religious way. Mm-hmm. And, spirituality is an oldest form of connection to spirit, but it's not truly a religion. No. It's not a religion. It's
just pure connection.
Yeah, it's just pure connection to source.
Yeah.
Right. So how we celebrate it and how we teach others to celebrate it.
There's formats.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. We teach these formats, like you said. Mm. We teach them how to commune. Will everybody be able to commune that the same way as others? No, they won't. But some will. So also my job is to say, how can we help you commune to spirit? Sweat Lodge is not working for you. Soul Retreat is not working for you. Sitting around the fire is working for you. Okay, just sitting here and talking to you is working better. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they'll go into the spaces they need to go into. It's not like Western medicine. I'm not saying that Western medicine is like this, but it's not like one pill fixes all. Right. We come to believe that, not necessarily the doctors, but people come to believe that we have to have a cure. that we have to have something that fixes us in that moment. That's why we take aspirins, that's why we take Tylenols.
Right.
You know, we take cough medicines, we don't want to cough anymore.
Right.
And your body's trying to expel stuff. Sometimes the body needs a little help. But everything that we have to heal is in nature. Everything. So the same way with people, everything that we have is around us. You know, looking at a sunset can help your client or person heal themselves. You know, watching this candle in the dark can help heal yourself. It's the intentions you set for what you want to gain. If you think you're sick, you're going to believe you're sick.
Right.
If you think you can heal, you will heal. How fast, how slow, that's to be determined.
Right, and that's up to source sometimes.
Right.
Because sometimes that path is serving a purpose in learning. So.
And you have to create relationships with spirit too, because, and when I say spirit, I mean the great spirit, the spirit of God, you know, that energy. Because there's also demonic spirits.
Yeah.
There's spirits, so you have to be careful the way you use the word spirit.
There's all potentials
Yes.
exist, so.
And then all the things that are inside of us are in conflict with things outside of us. So everybody who's learning or wants to be part of something, they're all trying to find their way. And sometimes they have a hard time because they're in conflict with things. And that's the biggest thing to serve somebody properly, is to understand that they're just like you. They're conflicted. They're human beings. Before anything, we're all human. Doesn't matter if I have magic spells and can open portals. I was human before I could do that, right?
Right.
You know, before I could do sweat lodge, I was still human,
Right.
but I didn't have that skill until someone taught it to me. In the same way my teachers taught me, because I was awake and it was the right moment.
Right.
I was in the right place at the right time.
The door was open.
And I had the opportunity to say, I want to do that. Or I could have been embarrassed, like, oh, I don't want to ask, because that might sound like I'm being, you know, too egotistical. But they were ecstatic when I wanted to learn. And I've been with them since 2006. The Nebenha. I've been learning shamanism since I was almost 15. And then, like, you know my story. I didn't want to be a shaman. I wanted to just be normal. I just wanted to, you know, I just want to have a good time and party. But you couldn't run from your gifts. When you have gifts, everybody has gifts. But when you have specific gifts, they just pop out. And, you know, and when people ask you something and you say something and they're like, wow, how'd you do that? Well, I wasn't trying to do anything. It's just what Spirit has endowed and helped me. Now I have to hone that energy, hone that skill.
Practice, yeah. So
And
it's
learn
more
from that.
intentional, yeah. So it doesn't just show up randomly.
And so that's the same thing with the person. You have to also do that. Even if they don't want to be a shaman or they don't want to study or whatever, you still have to help them. You have to teach them. Because when they walk into sweat lodge ceremony, because this is what we're talking about, sweat lodge ceremony, you have to prepare them. You know, explain to them about the directions, explain to them why we put the rocks, so many rocks in there, what the representation is. Because a lot of people just come to lodge and they just go in and come out.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe
They're
they
on
get something.
autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on autopilot. But a lot of people, those who really want to learn, they will stay, they will come early and stay late. You know, unless they have something to do. But it's, the intricacies of sweat lodge are very deep. You know, we haven't covered a lot of that. You probably don't need to for this particular one, but they're very deep. There's a lot of depth to it. And you've been working with me and you've seen the depth, but you still haven't seen the depth.
Yeah, there's a lot that I've seen, like a little bit underneath the surface of the iceberg.
Right, because the depth will come when it's your turn to do it.
Yeah.
And then you will realize in that moment, you realize that kind of like when I threw you in the drum to do the meditation, you were like, It's one thing to watch. This is why you have to actually have someone teach you sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can learn things from books. You can learn things from videos.
Yeah.
But when you actually have someone teach you and show you, and then when you try to step out and do it yourself, you will say, oh, yeah, I forgot this, I forgot that. But nobody knows except you.
Yeah. Because they're also only seeing the iceberg, the tip
Right.
of the iceberg. And you're the only one that can feel the lower part of the iceberg.
Correct.
Yeah. Because Spirit's also working through you. So, like, your intentions there, you're going to be the right person to do that ceremony if the intentions are...
Spirit will
positive.
work through you the way that it needs to work through you.
Exactly.
Like, you may thought you forgot something, but you may have said something that needed to be heard. You know, because remember, you and I are two different people.
Right.
And so your medicine is your medicine and the foundation of learning from myself, but you will eventually create a version of your own fused into some pieces and parts of mine. Because that's how it goes.
Right.
That's how we do.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Keep a lookout for future videos. My plan is to post more, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in future videos. Bye for now.